So for us, success is measured very, very differently. So this is where I get into the, I'm going to show that I'm an old social worker, right? But when we talk about theories of success for young people, one of the ways we work from is this notion of resiliency theory. And resiliency theory is very complex. It's very rooted in lots of different things. I'm going to try to break it down as simply as I can to tell you how it works for us. So any one of us, regardless of our background, whether we come from a marginalized community, anything, doesn't matter where we come from, our ability to be successful as adults is rooted in the development of a range of different competencies, core competencies and abilities, confidence, character, connection with each other. Do we have passion, persistence, grit, all these sorts of things? Do we have the ability to cope and manage self-control, these sorts of things? But here's the most powerful part, and this is where coaches fit in. The single greatest contributor to a young person's ability to develop those competencies is not what happens at home with mom and dad or anything like that. It is having a meaningful, reciprocal relationship with one adult from outside the family sphere. If you think back in your own life, hopefully all of you have that neighbor that you grew up next door to that always took care of you and looked after you, or you had that coach that you believed in. One of the things, the great experiences that Heroes has given us is we get to spend time and meet some of the, NHL coaches, general managers. And one NHL coach to me, general manager, we were driving to an event one time, and he said, Kev, he goes, the game of hockey's changed. This was just before the draft. And I said, why is that? And he said, two things. One is, more players in the first round are going to have come through the academy system than the community hockey system. This is the first time it's going to happen, and it's going to change the way our game is, operates for the long run. But he said the other part is, he said when I used to do interviews with players, and we'd ask them who had the greatest impact on them as a young hockey player, they always talked about the 10-year-old. When I was 10 years old, I had a coach who, if we won a tournament, he'd buy us ice cream, right? Or I had this coach who this, or we had this team mom who this. They were all talking about that. He said, now what they're talking about is the coach I had last year taught me what it meant to be a pro, right? So we've shifted sort of that focus. But each of you, I'm 50 years old. There's people in the room that are sort of in my wheelhouse age-wise, maybe a little younger, a little older. Hopefully all of you have that one person outside your family sphere that was important, that you had a connection with and a relationship with, that helped you become the person that you are. We also know, tied to resiliency theory, that involvement in sport promotes resiliency, sense of purpose, sense of self-concept. You see on that, none of it is about whether we get to the NHL, whether we get to the PWHL, whether we reach that highest level. So, in terms of who are we coaching, from a Heroes perspective, everything for us is about the person. It's about the individual. I have a really unique sort of situation in that I have Western Hockey League players. I'm based in Calgary, by the way. I have Western League hockey players that billet with our family. We've been doing that for many years. Not because I'm a hockey guy, but because we were foster parents for a very long time. Our kids were always used to people living in our house. And quite frankly, hockey players, they eat a lot more, but they're a lot easier to manage. So this was a kind of a step down from fostering for us. But I also have a 24-year-old daughter who is a high-performance athlete. And she taught me this, because she ran into a situation where she felt like she was consistently defined by only what she could do in the field of play. And she had a goal to make it to the Olympics. And she had a coach who unfortunately is very, very old school, and a coach who saw her only as having value if she succeeded. So if she got on the podium, then the coach got to be on the podium with. Right? It was that sort of that notion of, if you buy into my program, you'll be successful. And if you fail, it's because you didn't buy into what I was doing. Right? And so many athletes at a high performance level are defined by the sport that they play. I can't tell you the number of times. One thing about Heroes is from September 29th to the end of March, in every day of the week, there will be Heroes kids playing somewhere in Canada. We have nearly 30 programs, 11 cities. So we get to watch a lot of coaches. And when I talk to coaches and I say, oh, tell me a little bit about that kid. Oh, the kid can play, right? They never tell me about who he is or she is. They never tell me about the person behind it. And my daughter taught me this. Sport is what an individual does, not who they are. The fact that she went to the Olympics doesn't define her as an athlete. She believes it defines her in the fact that she has all these personal attributes that allowed her to get to that level, because she had to step over athletes that were far more talented than her. She had to outwork them, she had to outdrive them, she had to outgrind them, and she had to put in the work. She would be a coach's dream if she had had a different kind of coach.